Wow. Welcome to episode 59 of the Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. I was just so blown away. Grayson was dancing while this thing was starting to record, while the intro was going. He dabbed too. I was wishing he would do it to start the recording, but he didn't do it.
Not going to happen.
Why not?
Well, you know what? I'll make this promise. I will do a double dab if the Patriots win on Sunday. I'm that desperate.
Well, next week's episode 60, so you could do it then too. It'd be great. Just need the Pats to win. I'm Patrick Neal. This is Grayson Mann. Fist bump as always. We are talking some football again as always. We pretty much always do that. We're back again. So, Grayson, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Another fantastic weekend of football, as it never disappoints. Week 2 of the NFL has come and gone. We're already 2 weeks in. Time flies. I don't know if that's if you're British. I hope you weren't offended by that.
We're 1/9.
That's a great way of thinking about it. Some math here that I can't clearly do. But we're going to follow pretty much the same format as last week, where we did some studs and duds and how it encompasses our NFL Week 2 review. And then we'll look maybe a little bit at the Week 3 slate and see what we're excited about and what's changed in 2 weeks. Has our takes been thrown into the fire? Are some of the players that we gave praise to under some scrutiny this week? Let's find out. So, Patrick, it's time for this edition of Studs and Duds.
We need like some sort of good theme music and some sort of graphic out of that. I don't know how we would do that, but anyways, we need like, I don't know, some, like the Home Depot thing where it like,
oh my gosh,
something like that where like a stamps on and just like a thunder,
boom,
studs and duds and like some super deep voice. Sorry, I lost track there. What am I supposed to do? Oh, stud. I'm going to give it to the rookie class in general.
Okay. Let's
it's
see.
kind of broad, but there's a few guys that have stood out recently. First off, Puka Nacua. If you haven't heard of him, he went to BYU.
He's a Mormon.
He was good at BYU. He didn't do too much. I mean, he was solid. Go Mormons. But he went to BYU, drafted in the 5th round of this past NFL draft to the Rams, and has broken the rookie receptions record through 2 games, 25 receptions, and has gotten over 100 yards in both games.
Put that in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, that's the newest chapter.
There you go.
Book of Puka. Anyways, that was I don't know what that was, but he's got a great name.
He does,
and he's been killing it with Cooper Kupp out. Sean McVay has found a way to just seemingly offense is back to normal. They're not having too much of an issue without Cooper Kupp. Matt Stafford is back. We talked a little bit about him last week. And, yeah, he's looking fantastic.
Yeah, the Rams played really well against that 49ers team. A lot of people probably wrote off the Los Angeles Rams, and we talked about this.
I would have preseason.
We couldn't name a single dude on that roster if we were paid to do it, which we unfortunately aren't. But the Rams looked pretty good through 2 weeks. They held their own against a really great 49ers team, and they beat the Seahawks, who picked up a win in Detroit in overtime.
Yeah, and they weren't able to win this week against the 49ers.
Yes.
But 49ers are a fantastic team. Probably, they could be the best team in the league right now,
they could.
In all honesty.
There isn't really a true separation right now with a lot of the teams right now, it's so early too, so a lot of the teams are either figuring it out, or you've got teams that people expected to be really great, like Cincinnati and Los Angeles, who are 0-2 to start the year. I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay. We'll probably talk about them in a second.
But I mean, we'll talk about potential bounce backs too. But yeah, the rookie class so far, Bijan Robinson.
Yep, he was on my list as well. He is
so smooth.
I do not blame the Falcons at all for taking him at 8. I mean, this draft, we're talking about some guys that are standing out. This draft wasn't viewed as a super strong one. I mean, there were definitely some guys, and Bijan was one of them. If you were to just put draft guys specifically talent-wise, he was probably top 3, top 5-ish range. But he was crucial in this game. He got a really good 4th down conversion that originally looked like it was not going to do anything. He ended up converting it. It was like a toss to the right side.
Yeah.
You thought he was going to get stopped, and nope, it's Bijan Robinson. He's gonna get the first down and seal the game. There's also that really, really fantastic run where he made like 3 guys miss, juked them out of their shoes. There's a really good video circulating on Instagram of it in like slow motion, and it looks awesome. So go find that, go check that out. And they beat a good Packers team, who
They really did.
I'm a big fan of.
If you have any more, do you have any more other like the rookie quarterbacks? Who?
Oh yeah, well yeah, we can talk about them too. Anthony Richardson, he was really, really solid before he came out with a concussion.
You know, I think that there's some sound bites on this show of me being not too high on Anthony Richardson, or thinking at least that it was going to take a while, but he looks so far like the best quarterback in this draft class right now. All of his skills are being utilized by the Colts. They're doing a great job of not trying to force him to be in some sort of archaic NFL offense. They're making plays designed around his strengths, and he's clearly blossomed, and he's also just a great guy too, so it's easy to root for. CJ Stroud, they haven't won a game yet, but he looks pretty good so far. Bryce Young has had struggles, but you see the flashes. So the top 3 quarterbacks taken so far.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud looked solid in the game against the Colts too. I think them two have definitely been the best of the quarterbacks. Bryce Young has struggled a little bit, but yeah, Shane Steichen, he's been known to do this with Anthony Richardson's so-called prototype of quarterback with Jalen Hurts, and yeah, I wonder what Anthony Richardson's brother is currently doing. You remember that video?
Oh my gosh, he's probably enrolled in college.
Yeah, he's like 11, but has the deepest voice
It's good
ever.
to meet you. And I'm like, dude, you got a deeper voice than me, and I'm 22 years old.
Yeah.
Like, what?
While you were talking about him, he popped in my memory, and I hope he's doing well. I hope Anthony Richardson's brother is doing well. But yeah, both those QBs look good. CJ Stroud looks poised. He looks not shaken at all. And Anthony Richardson, his knock going into this into the NFL was that he isn't pro ready, and he's looked somewhat pro ready. I mean,
fit the bill so
it's
far.
not perfect yet, but
I mean, hey, if this is his starting point, we can only imagine where he's going to go.
He's got a high ceiling.
Yeah, absolutely. As for my first stud of the day is Arthur Smith in the Atlanta Falcons, starting 2-0. Say it with me, folks. 2-0 for the first time since 2017. It's a big deal for a Falcons team that I thought this would be a game where it was going to be a measuring stick for this group, especially thinking both of these teams are probably wild card favorites heading into the NFC.
Green Bay is going to win the division. But
yeah, but hey,
that's just me.
That's just you. But the big milestone marker, beating a team that they were pretty evenly matched, and they had opportunities to do classic Atlanta things and blow this, but you pair Bijan Robinson with this offense. Kyle Pitts and Drake London were involved sparingly, but more than last week. The defense made plays and stepped up. I watched this game with my brother, who was a maniac for the Falcons. And they were very, very happy. So I had to give it to Atlanta. I had to start off the show on a positive manner.
Atlanta's looking good, and I think they were always going to be a very high floor team, just because I think their roster is better than everybody thought it was going to be going into the season. Their defense looks all right with Ryan Nielsen, and Arthur Smith is a really good coach. So look, Drake London was able to get involved this week. He didn't end up with a donut on the box score. However, you still want to see improvement from this team. Desmond Ridder had some good throws. His touchdown throws were honestly kind of nice.
Yeah, they were.
Was able to create some stuff out of structure, but it is Desmond Ridder, so you still want to see him improve.
Yeah, so I think 2-0, you take it for what it is, but do we want to move on? Let's get negative. Let's get crazy.
Okay.
What is your first dud of the day?
I mean, I guess I'll mention it. The Bengals are 0-2, the exact opposite of the Falcons. I'm not feeling. I don't know. Last week I think we were both kind of like, okay, we don't need to panic. It's the Bengals. They started 0-2 last year, but Joe Burrow is clearly not healthy. He said after the game that he re-aggravated his calf. I think his calf was never fully healthy to begin with. So saying that he re-aggravated it, I don't think that was breaking news to anyone, it's probably going to be a game time decision whether he plays on Monday against the Rams. And yeah, I honestly think he won't play. Jamar, when Joe originally hurt his calf, was like he shouldn't return until week 5. And, I think Joe, he wanted to show everybody, especially getting that contract, that like, hey, I can put this team on my back. It doesn't matter how hurt I am. It doesn't matter what I'm dealing with. And you've kind of seen him do that throughout his career.
Yeah.
He's been willing to put his body on the line. He's been willing to do whatever it takes to win. But, when you got to protect the multi-million-dollar man, the
Yeah, no
200, what was it, $50 million man, however much it was. And he's got to protect himself. He's already had an ACL tear in his rookie season. He's dealt with stuff throughout his career. So, it's so tough. I feel it's honestly starting to get a little shaky where, like, if you lose to the Rams this week, it becomes a lot tougher to get, back into that playoff picture just because it's a tough division. You got to play Baltimore, who I have in my studs. They looked awesome. They got to play Baltimore again. They got to play Cleveland again, albeit without Nick Chubb. And they still got to play Pittsburgh twice. So it's a tough division. It's a tough schedule. They have the Chiefs. They have the Bills. They have the Jaguars. They have the 49ers. So it's a really tough schedule. And this is kind of the easy part coming up. So they gotta get it going.
They got to make a run. My first dud is Brandon Staley in the Los Angeles Chargers, starting 0-2. My top note here is all the talent in the world, but there's no substance to back it up. You really thought, and I really thought, that playing against a Titans team that looked pretty mediocre, Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions, had a worse. He would have had a better quarterback rating week 1 if he had just kneeled the entire game. It didn't look good. The Titans come out, they look polished, they look refined. Mike Vrabel outcoached Brandon Staley and this Chargers team. Justin Herbert continues to play well, but he's not really getting the situational help that you need. You need a couple breaks here and there. You need a coach to do X, Y, and Z. I left the Chargers out of my playoff rankings to start the year, and I'm feeling very good about it at this juncture. I don't think Brandon Staley is potentially going to be coaching this team next year if this continues. There's just a lot of sloppy football. The aggression that made him special in his first year has virtually disappeared. So we'll see. He yelled at a reporter, I think, for insinuating this Jacksonville loss is still hanging over this team, which may or may not be fair, but against another team that I think had the inferior talent compared to the Chargers, they continue to come up short.
Yeah, it's tough. Brandon Staley, I think he is a fantastic defensive coordinator, but I think there were definitely questions. He was almost fired last year. And I think it's just becoming more evident that head coaching may not be where he thrives the most. He's definitely had questions about his decision making. It was evident in this game. I believe they punted on their own 38.
Yeah.
If my memory serves me correctly, I didn't watch a ton of this game, but yeah, I think having to call the defense while simultaneously manage the game, it's a lot to handle. You see it with other coaches like Andy Reid, where they're handling play calling duties. Sean McVay as well, handling play calling duties and also having to manage the game. It can be tough. It's a lot to handle during the game. So maybe Brandon Staley. I'm not calling for him to get fired or anything.
Yeah.
But it may just be where he's better off being a defensive coordinator, doing what he does best and call defense.
Go from there. Yeah. Well, we'll see with this Chargers team. If there's anyone that I'm confident that are 0-2 at the moment, it would probably be the Bengals and the Chargers to have a bounce back and make a postseason run. But I think I'm more confident in Cincy. But there's also, for both teams, some serious issues that need to get resolved.
Yeah, I don't know. Because, even if Joe Burrow plays, they have, in their 2 games, they've had one play that has not been in shotgun, one play under center. So he can't move around in the pocket. He can't do what he does best, where he's extending plays, getting the long ball out, having Jamar and T, go make a play. Who would you be most worried about out of the 0-2 teams right now?
I'd probably say we'll get into that team in a second. I'd probably say Denver. I felt like, and the quarterback they played against is in my studs category, but that was a real letdown. I think Denver was up 28-7 at some point. Their offense looked completely different. It looked like a new look Broncos team. Like week 1 was an aberration. They go into week 2, really start strong, and then just collapse down the stretch against a Commanders team that's now 2-0 as well, which is pretty interesting.
You mentioned Sam Howell. Do you want to talk about him?
Yeah, he's in my studs category. The Sam Howell watch has officially begun for the Washington Commanders. Now, he's not posting the most electric stats. He only has 3 touchdowns and 1 interception on the year, but he's also learning on the fly. This was his 3rd start on Sunday. I thought he showed a lot of composure. Usually young quarterbacks in that situation, down by that many points on the road, are going to try to force something, try to make a big play, and just try to put the ball where it shouldn't be. And he showed composure. He showed an ability to really weather the storm. And I think that's a great trait to have if you're a young quarterback in this league, especially someone who rode the bench last year, started only 1 game. So this really is his rookie season in terms of playing time. That really is an impressive trait to have.
Yeah, he's looked solid. He's been able to create some things out of structure, kind of like I just talked about with Burrow. But remember, a few years ago, before he kind of fell off with North Carolina his final season, he was projected to be the number 1 QB in his class.
And a Heisman candidate, too.
Yeah, so it's not like this is coming out of nowhere. It is the Commanders and it is Sam Howell, so nobody was expecting massive things from him. But there has been flashes before when he was in college, and now while he's a starter, I think Washington's a solid team. They got a really good defense. Their D-line is awesome. Sam Howell, I think he's kind of in the category of, a Desmond Ridder or I think Jordan Love's kind of a little bit better than both of them. But, they were all going into the season with, okay, this is going to be the question if y'all are our franchise QBs. After this season, I feel like they kind of all have to determine whether or not they are the franchise QBs for their teams, and the teams have to as well. And if not, they're all getting moved on from. But he's looked good so far. He
has, and they've been really impressed along with Jordan Love as well, who I thought has looked pretty okay for his first couple starts in this league.
Yeah, I think he's looked really, really solid. I believe he's, we aren't a fantasy podcast, but fantasy-wise, I think he's the number 2 QB in fantasy.
There you go.
All right. He's looked solid.
For you, let's get another stud in there, and then we'll get close to our wrap-up.
Okay. Stud. I mentioned it. I'll talk about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. The offense looked effortless this weekend.
It did.
They were missing Tyler Linderbaum. They were missing Ronnie Stanley, 2 of their offensive linemen, 2 of their better offensive linemen. And there was no pressure on Lamar Jackson. He was doing whatever he wanted. He looked great in the pocket. The middle of the field was wide open. And, Mark Andrews was back, so he had his favorite target back. The defense looked really good as well. I believe Marlon Humphrey was out. So they had a lot of injuries everywhere. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins was not playing, but it didn't matter because this Ravens team looks really, really good. I think last year, if I remember correctly, I had them playing in the Super Bowl in my preseason prediction against the Eagles and winning. I may just be a season too early because they look really, really good.
Yeah, and you thought when they were struggling to move the ball against the Texans and it almost looked like they were barely able to pull away at the last minute. You thought, okay, this is probably a candidate that's going into week 2. Cincinnati, backs against the wall, a little desperate. They had just a really atrocious performance in week 1. They could come in and really, Cincinnati could show everybody who they actually are. But the Ravens came in, executed really well. Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham. It looks like Lamar's comfortable, too, in his own skin, in the pocket, surveying the field, which for the amount of the price tag that they've put on him now, you really wanted to see that heading into this year. It's really all going to come down to his health. And if Lamar Jackson can stay healthy, this could be a team in the AFC that's going to be nearly impossible to beat. Now that the Jets don't have Aaron Rodgers, Bills with Josh Allen, we don't necessarily know what they are just yet. Some of the other teams, like the Chargers, aren't going to be in the picture that soon. And you've already got a home game over the Bengals. or road win over the Bengals that could come down to a tiebreaker in seeding.
Yeah, the AFC has honestly been a little underwhelming so far.
It has.
You know, we all thought preseason it was clearly the better conference than the NFC, and I feel like it's probably still true. I think it's just a deeper conference. However, Chiefs have struggled. They struggled this weekend, even though they got the win. Jaguars struggled. They were playing each other, and they both struggled to put up points. Bengals are obviously struggling. The Jets don't have Aaron Rodgers anymore. Chargers are 0-2. The Pats are 0-2. Although kind of a different category than they're the true contenders.
Yeah.
But I just kind of had to get it in there.
You had to. It's okay.
But yeah, the AFC is kind of up for the taking right now. I think, you know, in the NFC you have the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Cowboys are far and away better than everybody else. But right now, Dolphins and Ravens probably been the two most impressive teams in the AFC.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Patriots, and here we move to the duds category. Patriots execution, and that's just it. And it makes me upset because I came onto the show on Wednesday when we were recording last week, feeling pretty good about myself and the state of this team, thinking, man, we took the NFC champs to the brink of a season opening win, and they come into Miami. They're expected to perform better, really pick up where they left off, and it was largely the same script. DeMario Douglas fumble early that puts them down 10. They get down 17-3 at the half, storm back, and then they need a wacky result to be able to keep them in the game. And if you're Belichick and the Patriots, you can't be having those kind of games with the schedule that you have.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about them because I feel like they're a solid team, but then they end up just not being able to close it out. I saw some video on Twitter today. I don't know if you saw it, but it absolutely cooked Mac Jones. I need to try and find it real quick. But it was like Mac Jones, he's had something like 24 drives in his career, either to tie or score, tie to win in the fourth quarter, and he's had like one drive that's been successful or something.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Let me try and find it real quick.
We got Patrick doing
maybe I shouldn't actually
the best research he possibly can.
As much, but anyways.
But yeah, for me, this is a team that needs to win week 3, and then we'll see from there. But as for me right now, they told everyone all summer that they were a team that could execute the high levels and that the mistakes of the past were simply in the past. And clearly, old mistakes have continued to creep up.
Yeah, I can't find it. But
oh well.
It was, yeah, I don't know. There were a lot of stats that were like,
I'm sure.
Oh shoot, Mac Jones. That's an issue. But anyways, I got one last dud, I guess. Or should I end on a positive note? I do have a
let's both end on a positive note.
Okay. The Cardinals are doing exactly what they need to do. You know, Jonathan Gannon is he's cringy for sure.
He's pretty much Murph from Impractical Jokers.
Yeah.
But worse.
It's bad. However, they've looked great and they are 0-2.
Yeah.
They're doing exactly what they need to. You know, they went up, what was it? 28-0?
They went 28-7.
7? It may have been 7. They went up 28-7 against Daniel Jones and the Giants. And then halftime, you know, Jonathan Gannon comes in. He's like, boys, you're looking fantastic. Remember the mission. Remember the goal.
What we're here
it's
for.
Caleb Williams. And they go out and get the job done. Lose by 3, but look fantastic doing it.
Hey, that's all you can ask for sometimes, because that's enough to keep your job, but also get a franchise quarterback in the process. Hey, it's chess out here, not checkers.
Yeah. So if they can continue to look great and lose, fantastic work, Cardinals. You're doing
I'm
good.
just gonna round of applause for supreme tanking.
Yep.
Supreme tanking.
Yep.
For me, my last stud of the day is the Cowboys defense. Through 2 games, they've looked. I know what you're thinking, America. Like the entire country watches this show.
Yeah,
like they
sure.
usually do.
Coast to coast.
You're thinking, Grayson, they only played the Daniel Jones Giants and the Zach Wilson Jets. What's with the hype? And I get it. I don't want to become a prisoner of the moment and put Cowboys hype into the show, but they look pretty good so far. They look like they're playing with a different edge to them, and mostly they're taking on the characteristics of Micah Parsons. But I think that the signing of Stephon Gilmore to shore up the secondary, and when you pair that with a pass rush like the Cowboys, they could do some serious damage, and they've done it so far.
They have looked really, really good. Their defensive line is great all across the front. You got Stephon Gilmore, like you said. Trayvon Diggs is looking good. And, yeah, their whole defense is looking great. They were able to, last week they didn't have to rely as much on their offense because the Giants were just shooting themselves in the foot the whole time. But this week they had to rely a little bit more on it. It looked pretty solid. Tony Pollard looked good. CD was fantastic. Dak Prescott, managing the game as a solid NFC QB.
Yeah.
He's gotten a lot of hate, but he's looked good so far. So.
Absolutely. So that's all I got for my studs and duds, Patrick.
Yeah.
Before we get finished up here, do you want to maybe shout out a game that you're looking forward to next week?
Yeah. Let me look real quick.
While you're doing your look, I'm going to say that we're going to have the battle of the 0-2s. That actually sounds very exciting. The Chargers and the Vikings. One of these teams needs to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. It's so early in the season, but teams 0-3 statistically, unless you're the 2018 Houston Texans, they never make the playoffs. So this is a game where you got Kirk Cousins and that high-flying Vikings offense against the Chargers and their high-flying offense. It's really going to be a battle of who makes the stupider mistake in a team, both teams filled with really aggravating mistakes.
Look, Kirk Cousins is on track to have the best QB season of all time right now. So hopefully he can keep that up. It's a great uniform matchup as well. Chargers, the baby blue, and then the purple. I know they won't wear that together. Somebody will wear white. But two great uniforms. The Chargers are, I feel like, almost a lock to win this. Although I'm saying that, and
I'm gonna go with Captain Perk Thuggins in the Minnesota Vikings.
I don't know. I feel like the Vikings are just not a good team. I feel like they were so. I guess it is lucky is the word. Last year, you have the one score stat where they were 9-0, but this year they've regressed back to the mean, and I feel like, the Jets may potentially trade for Kirk Cousins. He's out of contract after this year, so they wouldn't have to deal with him next year. They could let him walk when Aaron Rodgers comes back, and yeah, I feel like Herbert's just a better QB, even though Kirk has put up stats. Good for him.
Perk Thuggins, man.
But I feel like the Chargers are just a better team, and I think, both teams are going to want to win. Because the Vikings were one of the top teams last year. Chargers, they really want to get it on track. But I just feel like the Chargers are the better team. And even though Brandon Staley has had some coaching issues, some faults, some mistakes, everybody does. So gotta forgive them. And I think they'll bounce back this week.
Forgive them, we shall.
Yeah. My game that I want to point out this week will be.
I'm drumrolling it.
I kind of want to see. Yeah, I'm excited for one half of this game, and by one half I mean I want to see the Dolphins offense versus the Broncos defense.
Oh, okay.
The Dolphins are favored by 6.5. I think the Dolphins should win this game, but. I just want to keep seeing how this Dolphins offense works against top defenses. They played the Patriots this week. The Broncos have some fantastic players on their line. It's the Bradley Chubb Bowl.
The Bradley Chubb Bowl. We've made it.
Yep, Bradley Chubb is going. Well, I believe, it's in Miami, so he's not going back to Denver. But can Russ cook? That sideline is probably going to be really hot for Denver.
Yeah. So they could really cook. Will Russell Wilson do meditation
Russ
on the
might
sideline?
actually be cooked on that sideline.
No meditation can save you from a sunburn.
Yep, the 115-degree turf on the visitor sideline. If you don't know what we're talking about, the Dolphins have somehow created their stadium to where it is much hotter on the visitor side than it is on the home side, just because of how the sunlight shines through and stuff.
That's pretty ingenious.
Yeah, it's pretty dope to think about, and yeah, I want to see what Tua does. They've got this thing working with the short motion. I'm sure you've seen it, where they get Tyreek and Jalen Waddle in short motion just to switch them, and then the DBs can't press them at the line, can't get physical with them, because that worked a little bit with like Staley and the Chargers last year. That's what they did to kind of slow them down. But the Dolphins are cooking. Russ might be cooked on the sideline. I mean, he is kind of cooked as a QB, but
he is just a little bit.
They're going to let him cook this weekend, and I don't think it's going to work out well for the Broncos, but I just want to see their defense against this Dolphins offense.
There we go.
So, yeah, that'll do it for this episode of The Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. We want to thank Zach and Connor, as always, for producing. We want to thank you for tuning in, of course. Go ahead and subscribe to Tigervision, like, comment, share with all your friends and family.
Hit all the buttons.
Do all of that because you care about the show.
If you want me to dab, comment on. I'll do as many dabs as there are comments on the video.
Okay.
As well. So
that would be awesome. Yeah. So go ahead and do that. We're hoping that the Patriots win, so he has to do it as well. Anything else, Grayson?
Y'all have a great day.
Yeah. Have a good one.